Now let's talk about PARCA Technical Section 1.4. This covers MAC address, IP address, port numbers, host name, IP4 versus IP6, and dynamic versus static IP addresses. MAC address. MAC stands for Media Access Control. It's a 48-bit hexadecimal address. It's usually 6 sets of 2 digits or characters separated by colons, and it looks like the example there. The MAC address is primarily assigned by the device's manufacturer, and it's assigned to the NIC card. And it functions at the data link layer in the OSI model. When we start talking about addresses, people automatically assume that an address is a where. In this case, an address is a who. In your home network, you have many devices. Maybe you have PCs, laptops, tablets, phones, maybe even a gaming device. And they all have locations on your network, but they also have names. And so computers and humans name things differently. Computers need numbers. So to understand the who of a device on your network, like which device is your tablet, a computer needs this 00:00:5E:00, right? That wouldn't mean anything to a human, and that's where host names come in. We'll talk about host names in a minute. But this number right here helps the computers on your network identify each other. So the MAC address is a who, and it's assigned to the device. So wherever the device moves, it always has that MAC address. IP address. This is a where. IP stands for Internet Protocol, and it's the network address for your computer, so the Internet knows where to send your emails, data, and pictures of cats, because the Internet is full of cats. The most common type of IP address is known as IP4, and it looks like this example, 24.156.99.202. An IP4 address consists of 4 numbers, each of which contains 1 to 3 digits with a single dot separating each number. So technically, an IP4 address is a 32-bit number, and the 4 numbers can range from 0 to 255. Port numbers. A port number is a way to identify a specific process to which an internet or other network message is to be forwarded when it arrives at a server. All network-connected devices come equipped with standardized ports that have an assigned number. Think of ports as doors. Your house, apartment, teepee, whatever it is you may live in, has a door, or more than one door, to get in or out, doors to go places. Port numbers are like doors, so traffic knows what door to come into your house. HTTP messages always go to port 80. The most common port for DICOM connections is port 104. Host name. A host name is a label assigned to a device, a host on a network, and it distinguishes one device from another on a specific network or over the internet. And these are for humans. The host name for a computer or home network may be something like new laptop, guest desktop, or family PC. They also are used by DNS servers, so you could access a website with a common, easy-to-remember name. That way you don't have to recall a string of numbers and IP address to open a website. Right? So host names are for humans. The process of DNS resolves that to an IP address or even to a MAC address if necessary. On a DICOM network, host names are called AE titles, and they might be something like ERMRI or XR Room 2. IP4 versus IP6. IP4 supports a maximum of approximately 43 billion unique IP addresses. However, there are 7.7 billion people on the planet. So if everybody had a cell phone or they put it on the internet, only half of the people on the planet could connect to the network or the internet on their cell phone. What would happen if we ran out of IP addresses? We already have. IP6 supports, in theory, a much higher maximum number. And if your eyes glazed over when reading that number, just know we will never run out of IP addresses again. So an IP6 address consists of 8 groups of 4 hexadecimal units, and there's an example on the screen. Inside a DICOM network, all of those IP addresses will be unique to that network. Okay, so the 4.3 billion unique IP addresses only relates to the internet. Right? So the internet is a giant global network. So for everything to be unique on the internet, well, obviously 4.3 billion wasn't enough. But inside your DICOM network, you're only going to have 100, 200 devices connected. So inside a DICOM network, everything is IP4. So you will never need IP6 unless you're dealing with a connection outside of your building. That's what I'm trying to say. Dynamic versus static IP addresses. When a device is assigned a static IP address, that IP address does not change. Most devices use dynamic IP addresses, which are assigned by the network when they connect and change over time. Okay? So if you have 100 computers, but only 30 of them are going to be on the network at any one time, you want to use a dynamic IP address. So a computer logs in, it gets a dynamic address from the DHCP server. It uses that IP address until it logs off, and then that IP address goes back into the pool and it can be used by somebody else when they log in. And those are always assigned by a DHCP server. DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. A static IP address, every time that device is on or even when it's off, it is at that IP address. And in a DICOM network, everything is a static IP address. You always want the same IP address for your CT scanner or your ultrasound card, so that it always connects in the same way and always has the same address. Thank you for watching.